The bell rang, sharp and final, marking the end of another long day at Westbridge High. Students flooded the hallways, chattering, laughing, slamming lockers. In the middle of the chaos walked Chloe Daniels, 17, confident, sharp-tongued, and, by her own definition, above average. To most teachers, she was the star student, straight A's, captain of the debate team, already accepted into half a dozen colleges. To her classmates, she was intimidating. Not cruel exactly, but smug, polished, untouchable. And to Mr. Harris, the school janitor, she was just another kid who never saw him. He was a tall black man in his 40s, with kind eyes and a quiet way of moving through the halls. He wore the same faded blue uniform every day, his ID badge slightly crooked, a mop always nearby. He'd worked at Westbridge longer than most of the teachers had been there, and he knew every name, every face, every secret scrawled in the lockers he cleaned. That day, Chloe was rushing out of class with her two closest friends, complaining loudly about how disgusting the school smelled after lunch. "Ugh, I swear, this place needs a makeover," she said, stepping around a freshly mopped section of the floor. "Can't they hire someone who actually knows how to clean?" Her words weren't aimed at anyone in particular, but they hung in the air long enough for Mr. Harris to hear. He looked up from his mop bucket, expression calm, voice even. "Careful, ma'am. Floors are wet." Chloe smirked. "Right. Wouldn't want to mess up your masterpiece." Her friends laughed. Mr. Harris didn't reply. He just stepped aside, letting her pass, the faintest hint of sadness flickering in his eyes. One of the teachers walking by frowned at Chloe. "That wasn't very nice," Chloe shrugged. "I was just joking." But she wasn't. That evening, she told the story at dinner, laughing as her parents chuckled along. Her father, a corporate lawyer, smirked. "That's what happens when people don't aim higher, sweetheart." Her mother nodded. "Work hard, and you'll never have to do that kind of job." Chloe grinned, feeling validated. She didn't know that at that same moment, in the dim janitor's closet across town, Mr. Harris was sitting on a crate, counting out the last of his paycheck, just enough to cover his daughter's rent at college. He smiled faintly as he tucked the bills into an envelope. "Almost done, baby girl," he whispered. "Just one more year." He didn't know it either, but their worlds, the smug teenager and the humble janitor, were about to collide again. And next time, the joke wouldn't be on him. 2 years passed after graduation, and Westbridge High became just another chapter in Chloe Daniels' flawless resume. She'd gone on to St. Clair University, a prestigious campus where the lawns were trimmed like carpet and the tuition could buy a small house. Her parents had promised to cover her first year. After all, Chloe was the investment that would pay off. But when her father's firm went under and her mother's boutique folded, the money vanished faster than the pride that came with it. By her second semester, Chloe was out of funds, out of patience, and, for the first time, out of control. The financial aid office was small and sterile, filled with tired students clutching forms. Chloe sat stiffly in front of a weary-looking administrator, her manicured fingers twisting together. "I don't understand," she said, trying to sound calm. "I was told I'd qualify for merit-based renewal." The woman sighed, flipping through papers. "You did, until your family's contribution dropped. Without it, your account's short by nearly $15,000. Chloe felt her chest tighten. "There must be something you can do." "There is," the woman said, pulling out a brochure. "Private donors, local sponsors. There's one new program, anonymous, community-based. It's meant for students from Westbridge County. You could apply." "Anonymous?" Chloe frowned. "You mean I wouldn't even know who's funding it?" The woman shrugged. "That's the idea. The sponsor chooses the recipient, not the other way around." Desperation overrode pride. "Fine," Chloe said, signing the form. Weeks passed. Chloe threw herself into classes and part-time work at the library, trying to ignore the tightness in her chest every time an unpaid bill arrived. Then one morning, she opened her campus mailbox and froze. Inside was a sealed envelope. No return address, just her name in neat handwriting. She tore it open. "Dear Ms. Daniels, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected for the Harlan Community Scholarship. Your tuition for the remaining year has been paid in full. The donor has chosen to remain private, but sends his best wishes for your continued success. Office of Financial Aid." Chloe read it twice, then 3 times. Relief crashed over her like a wave, followed by disbelief. Someone just paid everything, she whispered. That night, she called her mother. Mom, I got a scholarship, full ride. Some local donor. They won't say who. Her mother gasped with joy. Oh, sweetheart, that's incredible. See? Hard work pays off. But Chloe couldn't shake the curiosity. Who would pay that kind of money for her? Someone from Westbridge County, her old hometown. Someone who knew her name. For weeks she wondered, turning it over in her mind until she finally let it go. The answer came a year later when she graduated. Her first job out of college was teaching assistant at Westbridge High, the same school she'd once walked through like she owned it. The irony wasn't lost on her. It was her second day back when she passed a familiar face in the hallway. The tall man with the kind eyes pushing his mop and humming softly under his breath. Mr. Harris. Her breath caught. He looked older now, a little grayer, but his presence was the same, quiet, steady, dignified. He looked up, saw her, and smiled politely. Well, if it isn't Miss Daniels, he said. Didn't expect to see you here again. Chloe blinked, caught off guard by his calm tone. Mr. Harris. It's been years, he nodded. Congratulations on graduating. Heard you're joining the teaching staff? She hesitated. How did you? Small town, he said with a shrug. Something about the way he said it made her pause. You knew? He smiled faintly. I keep up with the students, I remember. Her cheeks burned. Students like me? Especially students like you, he said quietly. Before she could respond, he pushed his mop forward and continued down the hall. And as she watched him go, something stirred in her chest. A faint, impossible thought. No, it couldn't be him. But as she walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that the man she'd once laughed at had done something she could never repay. The week rolled by like a blur. Chloe threw herself into her new teaching job. Early mornings, late nights, endless grading. But the more time she spent at Westbridge, the more she noticed him. Mr. Harris was everywhere, quietly fixing things no one else saw. A flickering light, a loose desk leg, a broken heater in a classroom before winter break. He didn't speak much, but every time she passed him in the halls, he nodded politely, his eyes calm and unreadable. And every time, something in her twisted. Guilt, curiosity, maybe both. One afternoon, she stayed late to organize lesson plans. The school was nearly empty, sunlight fading through the blinds. She was gathering her things when she heard a noise in the hallway, the soft scrape of a mop bucket. Without thinking, she followed it. At the end of the corridor, she found him, Mr. Harris, in the supply closet, folding towels and humming low to himself. His back was turned, but when she said, Mr. Harris, he didn't seem surprised. Evening, Miss Daniels, he said, glancing over his shoulder. You working late again? She hesitated. Yeah, I guess I wanted to talk to you. He stopped folding. About what? She stepped closer, heart pounding. About the scholarship? His hands stilled. I know it's crazy, she continued quickly, but I keep thinking about it. The anonymous donor, the timing, the handwriting on the envelope. It was yours, wasn't it? He didn't speak. You paid for my tuition, she said softly. Didn't you? Silence hung heavy in the small room. Finally, Mr. Harris exhaled and leaned against the counter. You always were observant, he said. Chloe's breath caught. Why? Why me? After what I said, how I treated you. He raised a hand gently. That was a long time ago, Miss Daniels. I don't deserve it, she said, her voice trembling. You have a daughter. You told one of the teachers she was in college. Why would you spend your money on me? He looked at her with a small, quiet smile. Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it either. She frowned, confused. When I was your age, he continued, I had a teacher who saw more in me than I saw in myself. I was angry, careless, heading nowhere. She paid for my trade certification out of her own pocket. When I asked her why, she said, pass it on when you can. He looked down at his hands, the same hands that had cleaned this school for 20 years. Took me a long time, but I finally could. And I remembered a girl, bright, stubborn, thought she didn't need anyone. Reminded me of myself. Chloe blinked, tears filling her eyes. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he said kindly. You're here, doing something good. That's enough. She shook her head. No, it's not. I was horrible to you. I laughed at you. He gave a gentle chuckle. Kids say worse things every day. I don't hold it against you. Tears slipped down her cheeks. You changed my life, and I didn't even know your name on the paperwork. You knew it, he said softly. You just didn't see it. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then Chloe whispered, I'll never forget this. Ever. Mr. Harris smiled, his eyes warm. Good. Just promise me one thing. She wiped her face. Anything. When you're the one who can give, you do it quietly, not for thanks. Just because it's right. Chloe nodded through her tears. I will. As she left the closet that night, the halls of Westbridge felt different. Not smaller, but deeper. She'd walked these corridors as a child, thinking she was above them. Now she walked as a woman who understood what true greatness looked like. And it wasn't wearing a suit or standing at a podium. It was pushing a mop, humming softly, building futures in secret, one act of kindness at a time. Weeks passed, but Chloe couldn't shake the weight in her heart. Every time she saw Mr. Harris pushing his mop down the hallways or carrying his cleaning cart through the cafeteria, she felt a pull, not of pity, but of gratitude so deep it ached. She'd replayed his words over and over, pass it on when you can, and now, for the first time, she could. One afternoon, she stayed after school and went to see the principal, Mrs. Donovan, an older woman who'd worked with Mr. Harris for decades. Mrs. Donovan, Chloe began, nervous but determined, I want to start a scholarship program for Westbridge students, in honor of someone who's done more for this school than anyone else I know. The principal raised an eyebrow. May I ask who? Mr. Harris, she said without hesitation. He helped me when no one else did. Quietly, humbly. I want every kid here to know what real generosity looks like. Mrs. Donovan's face softened. You know, he's never wanted recognition. Doesn't even let us thank him when he fixes something off hours. But I think this he'd appreciate. Chloe smiled through tears. It's not about thanking him. It's about continuing him. A month later, the auditorium was filled with students, teachers, and families. It was Scholarship Day, an annual event celebrating graduates heading to college. For the first time, the program listed a new award, the Harris Future Builders Scholarship. For students who show kindness, resilience, and the courage to give back. When the announcement came, the crowd clapped politely until Chloe stepped up to the microphone. I want to tell you about the man behind this scholarship, she began, her voice trembling but strong. He's worked in these halls for over 20 years. You've all seen him. Some of us barely noticed him. I know I didn't once. The room grew quiet. I laughed at him once, she said honestly. I thought what he did didn't matter. I thought success was about being above people. I was wrong. She looked toward the back of the room, where Mr. Harris stood in his uniform, holding his cap in both hands. His eyes widened in shock as she continued. This man taught me what true success means. Not grades, not titles, but heart. He helped me go to college when I had nothing. And he never told me. He just believed. A murmur swept through the room. Teachers looked at one another, moved, surprised. So today, Chloe said, tears welling, this scholarship carries his name. So every student who walks these halls will remember what kindness can build, even when no one's watching. The applause was thunderous. Some students stood. Even a few teachers wiped their eyes. Mr. Harris remained frozen for a moment, overwhelmed. When he finally walked up to the stage, Chloe met him halfway, her eyes shining. You didn't have to do that, he whispered, voice cracking. You didn't have to either, she replied softly. But you did. And because of you, I can too. He smiled then, the kind of smile that carried years of quiet pride and humility. You've done me proud, Miss Daniels. She hugged him, and the crowd rose to their feet again. In that moment, under the lights of the same school where she'd once laughed at him, Chloe realized something she would never forget. Some people build legacies in boardrooms or books. Others build them in hallways, with a mop and a heart big enough to change a life. And when the applause faded and the room emptied, Mr. Harris turned to her and said, Looks like you learned the lesson after all. Chloe smiled through tears. The best one I've ever learned.